First contact's fatal mistake. The quantum detection arrays at Luna Base picked up the signal first. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her monitors in disbelief as the readings defied everything she knew about physics. The energy signature was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Too precise, too controlled to be natural. "Director Walsh," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I think you need to see this." Within hours, every major observatory on Earth confirmed it. 7 massive objects had appeared at the edge of the solar system, their arrival marked by ripples in space-time itself. The world held its breath as the first transmission arrived. "People of Earth," the message began, transmitted simultaneously to every communication device on the planet. "I am Supreme Commander Vaxter of the Nexus Collective. Your species has been evaluated and found worthy of consideration." In the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, Admiral David Rodriguez watched the alien's hologram hover above the central podium. Vaxter appeared almost serpentine, with iridescent scales and multiple pairs of arms that moved with unsettling grace. Their eyes, all 6 of them, held the cold calculation of someone examining insects under glass. "The collective requires your immediate integration," Vaxter continued. "Your technological achievements, while primitive, show promise. Under our guidance, humanity might eventually earn a place among the greater species of the galaxy." The room erupted in multilingual murmurs. Rodriguez noticed how the alien's translator rendered everything in perfect local dialects, a subtle display of technological superiority. "You have 14 standard solar rotations to accept our generous offer," Vaxter declared. "Should you refuse?" A pause, accompanied by a ripple of amusement across their scales. "Well, no species has ever been foolish enough to refuse." The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in chaos. Representatives argued, some advocating immediate surrender, others calling for defiance. Rodriguez remained silent, studying the tactical displays showing the alien vessel's positions. "Admiral." The voice belonged to Dr. Chen, who had been brought in to brief the council. "Their energy readings are off the charts. We have nothing that could match their technological level." Rodriguez smiled, an expression that had unsettled enemies across countless war games. "That's their first mistake, Doctor. They're showing us exactly what they can do." In the days that followed, humanity showed the Nexus Collective exactly what they expected to see. Official channels broadcast debates about surrender terms. Military vessels made obvious shows of standing down. The aliens watched with smug satisfaction as Earth appeared to bow to the inevitable. But in secure facilities deep beneath the Earth's surface, in hidden bases on Mars, and in classified orbital stations, humanity was far from surrendering. Dr. Chen worked with a global team of scientists, analyzing every scrap of data from the alien ships. Each transmission, each energy signature, revealed more about their technology. "They're arrogant," she reported to Rodriguez during a secure briefing. "Their tech is advanced, but it's stagnant. They haven't innovated in centuries because they haven't needed to. Everything they've shown us follows the same patterns, the same protocols." Rodriguez nodded, reviewing the latest simulation results. "And patterns can be predicted. Protocols can be exploited." The breakthrough came on day 10. In her lab beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Chen finally cracked the quantum signature of the alien's communication system. "It's beautiful," she admitted, "but it's built on assumptions. They think quantum entanglement can only work one way. They never considered." She didn't need to finish. Rodriguez had already seen the implications in her data. The collective's impenetrable quantum networks had a backdoor, one they'd never bothered to close because they'd never imagined anyone could find it. On day 13, Vaxter transmitted again, expecting to receive humanity's surrender. Instead, their signal was met with silence. Confused, they tried again. Still nothing. In the UN Command Center, Rodriguez watched the alien ships shift position, their energy signatures fluctuating with what his analysts identified as confusion. Signal intercepted and contained, Dr. Chen confirmed from her station. They can't reach Earth anymore. Not unless we let them. Rodriguez keyed his own transmission. Supreme Commander Vaxter, humanity has considered your generous offer. He paused, savoring the moment. We decline. The aliens' response was immediate and predictable. Their ships began charging weapons, preparing to demonstrate the cost of defiance. That was their second mistake. They're following standard collective protocols for planetary subjugation, Chen reported, monitoring the energy bills. Exactly as predicted. Rodriguez gave the order. Across the solar system, hundreds of stealth platforms, developed in secret over the past 2 weeks, activated. Each one carried a quantum resonance device built using the collective's own principles against them. The alien ship's energy readings suddenly spiked, then crashed. Their perfect formations broke apart as their systems failed. Decades of technological superiority turned against them in an instant. How? Vaxter's transmission crackled with interference and something else. Fear. This is impossible. You're primitives. You can't. That's your final mistake, Rodriguez replied calmly. You showed us your technology, gave us time to study it, and assumed we couldn't understand it. You forgot something crucial about humans, Commander. We don't just adapt. We improve. As humanity's real fleet emerged from hiding, Rodriguez reflected that the Nexus Collective was about to learn a harsh lesson. They had expected submission and found defiance. They had offered submission and created an enemy. They had demonstrated their power and taught humanity exactly how to defeat them. The battle that followed would be remembered across the galaxy not just as a defeat for the collective, but as the day the universe learned a crucial truth. Humanity doesn't bow to ultimatums. We break them. The silent preparation. The Nexus Collective's first wave fell within hours. Their vaunted ships, pride of 1,000 conquered worlds, drifted powerless through space, disabled by weapons they had unknowingly helped create. But Admiral Rodriguez knew better than to celebrate too early. They'll adapt, he warned the UN Security Council. The collective didn't build their empire by being stupid. We've surprised them once. We won't get a second chance. In her Himalayan laboratory, Dr. Chen agreed. Her teams were already detecting changes in the quantum signatures from the outer system. They're modifying their protocols, she reported, trying to close the vulnerabilities we exploited, but they're doing it the collective way. Methodical, predictable. That predictability became humanity's greatest asset. While the collective meticulously upgraded their systems, Earth's scientists and engineers worked in controlled chaos, innovation sparked by desperation and determination. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Maya Patel led a team developing what she called quantum mirage technology. The collective thinks in straight lines, she explained to visiting military officials. Their sensors look for specific patterns, specific energy signatures, so we give them exactly what they expect to see, until we don't. Her demonstration left the officials speechless. A test vessel equipped with the quantum mirage appeared to be in a dozen places at once, each image indistinguishable from reality, until the moment of impact. The collective's perfect targeting systems would become their weakness. In orbital shipyards disguised as debris fields, humanity's real fleet took shape. Captain Marcus Wong supervised the integration of stolen collective technology with human innovation. They've been refining the same designs for centuries, he told his engineers. We're rewriting the rules they take for granted. The new ships looked crude compared to collective vessels, their hulls a patchwork of materials and technologies. But appearances were deceiving. Each ship carried systems that didn't just copy collective tech. They transcended it. Rodriguez established his command center in an abandoned mining facility on Mars, coordinating Earth's preparations while keeping up the pretense of defeat. The collective's long-range sensors detected exactly what they expected: a primitive species scrambling to rebuild after their failed resistance. Their reinforcements will arrive in 6 days, Chen reported during a secure briefing. Her hologram flickered in the red Martian dust. a fleet 5 times larger than the first wave. They're taking no chances this time. Rodriguez studied the tactical projections and our countermeasures. Ready for testing. The Quantum Mirage Network is operational. Dr. Patel's team has manufactured enough projectors to cover every major population center. Even if they see through the decoys, they'll never be able to target everything at once. But humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology, it was information. Every transmission from the collective, every scan they performed, revealed more about their capabilities and limitations. Earth's quantum AI networks processed the data in real time, identifying patterns and predicting responses with uncanny accuracy. In a secure facility beneath London, Dr. James O'Connor led the Psychological Warfare Division. His team analyzed centuries of collective conquest records, building a profile of an empire that had forgotten how to face real resistance. They're not just technologically stagnant, he reported. Their entire culture is built on certainty, the certainty that they are superior, that resistance is futile, that every species will eventually submit. We've already shaken that certainty. Imagine what happens when we shatter it completely. The plan took shape across 100 secret facilities. While the collective methodically prepared for a traditional conquest, humanity prepared something unprecedented. Every apparent weakness concealed a trap. Every sign of submission masked a weapon. 4 days before the reinforcements were due to arrive, Rodriguez called a final council of war. Representatives from every major military and scientific division attended via secure quantum channels, technology that already surpassed the collective's superior systems. They expect us to fight like they do, he began, to follow the same tactical doctrines they've encountered for millennia. Instead, we'll show them something they've never seen, a species that refuses to play by their rules. Dr. Chen presented the latest intelligence. Their fleet will emerge from quantum space here. She indicated a point beyond Mars' orbit. They'll follow standard conquest protocols. Systematic elimination of defensive capabilities followed by precision strikes on population centers. They're bringing enough firepower to reduce Earth's surface to glass. But that firepower means nothing if they can't hit their targets, Dr. Patil added. The Quantum Mirage Network doesn't just create decoys. It learns and adapts. The more they attack, the more it understands their targeting systems, and the more effective our countermeasures become. Captain Wong detailed the fleet's capabilities. Our ships are smaller, fewer in number, and apparently less advanced. The collective will see exactly what they expect, a primitive species making a desperate last stand with inferior technology. They won't realize their own arrogance has armed us against them. As the briefing concluded, Rodriguez looked at each face in turn. The scientists who had reversed centuries of alien advancement in days, the military minds who had turned apparent defeat into opportunity, the leaders who had kept Earth united in its greatest crisis. The collective thinks they're coming to finish what they started, he said quietly. Instead, they're about to learn why humanity has survived every crisis we've ever faced. We don't just endure, we emerge stronger. We don't just resist, we revolutionize. And we never, ever fight the way our enemies expect us to. In space, the quantum sensors detected the first ripples of the approaching collective fleet. Humanity's trap was set. The real war was about to begin. Innovation under pressure. The collective fleet emerged from quantum space like a metal thunderstorm. 5,000 ships, each one a masterpiece of alien engineering, arranged in perfect geometric formations. Their arrival rippled through space-time itself, a display of power meant to crush any remaining hope of resistance. In his Mars Command Center, Admiral Rodriguez watched the tactical display with calculated calm. Right on schedule, he noted. Dr. Chen, are you seeing this? Every ship, she confirmed from her station. Their quantum signatures are interesting. They've modified their systems, but they're still following basic collective principles. They can't imagine any other way to do it. The collective's opening transmission came exactly as predicted. Supreme Commander Vaxter's image appeared on screens across the solar system, their scales shimming with barely contained rage. Your previous defiance was impressive, they admitted, but ultimately futile. Surrender now, and we may still preserve enough of your species to serve a purpose. Rodriguez let them wait, counting the seconds. Dr. O'Connor's psychological analysis had been precise. The collective couldn't stand being ignored. Right on cue, Vaxter's scales rippled with agitation. You dare. Supreme Commander, Rodriguez interrupted smoothly. We were just preparing our response. Would you like to see it? He gave the signal. Across the solar system, humanity's quantum mirage network activated. Suddenly, the collective's perfect sensor networks showed thousands of human ships appearing from nowhere, their energy signatures a mix of stolen alien tech and impossible innovations. Impossible, Vaxter hissed. Your species can't. Can't what? Rodriguez asked mildly. Can't understand your technology. Can't improve upon it. Can't turn your own certainty against you. You should have studied Earth's history, Commander. Humans have a long tradition of doing the impossible. The collective fleet reacted exactly as predicted, spreading out to engage the Phantom ships. Their targeting systems, the finest in the galaxy, locked onto perfect mirages, while the real human fleet waited in dimensional shadows created by Dr. Patel's team. First wave of mirages engaging, Captain Wong reported from the fleet flagship Prometheus. Their targeting algorithms are adapting, but slower than expected. They're still trying to apply standard protocols to an impossible situation. The space around Mars erupted in light as the collective opened fire. Their energy weapons, capable of reducing planets to ash, passed harmlessly through quantum mirages. Each shot was analyzed, understood, and added to humanity's growing understanding of their technology. They're following Conquest Pattern Delta, Chen reported, watching the data flow. Just like the historical records showed, they haven't changed their basic tactics in 300 years. That predictability proved deadly. As the collective fleet maneuvered to establish firing solutions on the mirages, humanity's real ships emerged from their dimensional shadows. They didn't look impressive, cobbled together from Earth materials and stolen tech, but they carried weapons that shouldn't have been possible. All ships execute Operation Prometheus, Rodriguez commanded. The human fleet attacked from angles the collective's sensors couldn't process, using principles their ancient technology couldn't grasp. Quantum resonance weapons turned their own energy against them. Dimensional shifters moved ships through spaces the collective had deemed impossible to navigate. How? Vaxter demanded as their perfect formation began to break apart. These weapons, this technology, you cannot have developed this so quickly. That's the problem with certainty, Commander, Rodriguez replied. You were so sure of how things worked, you never imagined they could work differently. Every weapon you're facing was inspired by your own technology. We just had to break free of your assumptions about how it should be used. Dr. Patel's voice came through the command channel. Quantum Mirage Network at full capacity. Their targeting systems are completely compromised. They're firing at shadows while our ships slip through their sensor gaps. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries. The collective's mighty fleet, terror of 1,000 worlds, found itself fighting an enemy that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. Human ships appeared and disappeared at will, their weapons bypassing supposedly impenetrable shields. Pattern recognition algorithms complete, Chen announced. We can predict their responses with 99.7% accuracy. They're still trying to adapt using their standard protocols. That was the collective's fatal flaw. Centuries of unopposed conquest had left them unable to truly innovate. They could only refine what they already knew, while humanity's desperate creativity had sparked a technological revolution. In his command center, Rodriguez watched the tactical display shift. The perfect geometric patterns of the collective fleet were breaking down, their formations scattered by attacks they couldn't predict or counter. Ships that had conquered star systems were being disabled by weapons that borrowed their own principles, but used them in ways they'd never imagined. "Send the second phase signal," he ordered. Across the solar system, hidden defense platforms activated. Each one contained technology reverse-engineered from the collective's own systems, but modified by human innovation. The quantum web they created wasn't just defensive, it was invasive. "Their ship systems are being compromised," Chen reported with barely contained excitement. "The quantum resonance is cascading through their network. Everything they thought they knew about their own technology is being turned against them." Vaxter's next transmission showed genuine fear. "Stop. You don't understand what you're doing. This technology, these principles, there are reasons we use them as we do." "No, Commander," Rodriguez corrected. "There are reasons you use them as you do. Humanity. We see possibilities where you see limitations. We find paths where you see walls. And right now, we're showing you exactly why assuming your way is the only way was your greatest mistake." The battle wasn't just a defeat for the collective. It was a revolution in warfare. Every principle they had relied on for centuries was being deconstructed and reimagined by human minds, unfettered by ancient assumptions. Their perfect technology, refined over millennia, was being undone by innovations conceived in weeks of desperate creativity. "All ships, execute final phase," Rodriguez commanded. "Show them exactly what humanity can do when pushed to our limits." The universe was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or numbers. It was our ability to look at the impossible and ask, why not? The price of arrogance. News of the battle spread across collective space at quantum speed. The impossible had happened. A primitive species had not only resisted but had systematically dismantled the most powerful fleet in known space. The ripples of that victory would reshape the galaxy. In the aftermath, Admiral Rodriguez coordinated with Dr. Chen and her team to analyze the captured collective vessels. Each ship was a treasure trove of technology, but more valuable was the quantum data they contained, records of every world the collective had conquered, every species they had subjugated. "Look at this," Chen called him to her console. "Their database contains detailed information about hundreds of species, all at different technological levels. Some were more advanced than us when the collective found them. And now they're all servants," Rodriguez noted grimly. "What happened to their technology?" "Suppressed. The collective didn't just conquer them. They forced them to abandon their own innovations, to adopt only approved technologies used in approved ways." Her fingers flew across the interface. "But that's not the interesting part. Watch this." She pulled up a communication intercept. Across collective space, subject species were watching, learning, and most importantly, hoping. Humanity's victory had shown them something they'd forgotten was possible. The collective could be beaten. On Mars, Dr. O'Connor's psychological warfare team worked overtime, analyzing the impact. "It's not just about military defeat," he explained during an emergency council session. "We've shattered their foundation myth, the idea that their way is the only way. Every subject species is now asking themselves, if humans could do it, why can't we?" The answer came sooner than anyone expected. 3 days after the battle, the first diplomatic request arrived. The Arxer, a species conquered centuries ago, sought contact with Earth. They were followed by the Kerith, the Novan Alliance, and dozens of others. "They're not just looking for military aid," Dr. Patel observed, reviewing the requests. "They want to learn how we think, how we innovate." The collective didn't just control their technology. They controlled their ability to imagine alternatives. In his flagship's quantum lab, Captain Wong worked with representatives from these species, showing them how humanity had adapted collective tech. "The principles are the same," he explained to a fascinated Arxer scientist. "We just had to break free of the assumption that they could only be used one way." The reaction from the collective was predictable. At first, they launched punitive expeditions against worlds that dared to contact Earth. But something had changed. Their ships, once unstoppable, found themselves facing weapons and defenses inspired by human innovations. They're adapting our quantum mirage technology, an Arxer commander reported with fierce pride. Not copying it, making it their own. You showed us it was possible. The rest. Their facial tendrils rippled with satisfaction. The rest we're figuring out for ourselves. Supreme Commander Vaxter's final transmission to Earth crackled with barely contained fury. You don't understand what you've done. Order existed for a reason. Progress needed to be controlled or directed. You've unleashed chaos. Rodriguez let Dr. Chen respond. No, Commander. We've unleashed innovation. Creativity. The very things you feared so much you had to suppress them across an entire galaxy. You didn't create order. You created stagnation. And now everyone knows it. The collective's response was to launch their entire remaining fleet, 15,000 ships gathered from across their empire, in a desperate bid to crush Earth before the revolution spread further. They emerged from quantum space in perfect formation, their weapons charged, ready to reduce humanity's homeworld to ash. They found something unexpected waiting for them. Earth's defense fleet had been joined by ships from 24 species, each incorporating their own innovations into the basic principles humanity had shown them. The Arxer brought weapons that phased through space in ways even humans hadn't imagined. The Kareth had adapted quantum mirage technology to create defensive systems that made planets themselves appear to shift position. You see, Commander, Rodriguez transmitted as the combined fleet engaged. That's the real difference between us. You think knowledge should be controlled, innovation suppressed. We believe in sharing ideas, in letting everyone contribute their unique perspective. You created an empire of servants. We're building an alliance of equals. The battle that followed wasn't just a military engagement. It was the death of an old order. The collective's perfectly coordinated fleet found itself facing opponents who didn't just copy each other's innovations, but built upon them, combined them, improved them in ways their stagnant minds couldn't predict. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Chen reported, monitoring the battle. They're trying to adapt, but they can't keep up. Every time they counter one innovation, 3 more appear. Rodriguez watched as the mighty collective fleet began to break apart. Their perfect formations, maintained for centuries, shattered under attacks that came from angles they couldn't understand, using principles they had deemed impossible. Send the signal, he ordered. Let's show them what happens when you try to suppress an entire galaxy's worth of creativity. Across the battlefield, ships from Earth and its new allies executed a maneuver that would have been impossible weeks ago. Quantum fields intersected, dimensional barriers shifted, and suddenly the collective's fleet found itself fighting in spaces that shouldn't have existed, against weapons that broke every rule they had ever known. This is impossible, Vaxter transmitted, their voice shaking. These principles, these combinations, they violate every law we've established. No, Commander, Rodriguez replied calmly. They just violate your assumptions about those laws. And that's the price of arrogance, believing that your understanding is the only understanding, that your way is the only way. The galaxy is infinite, Commander. It's about time its people were free to explore all its possibilities. The collective's last stand became a revolution's first victory. As their mighty fleet fell to innovations they couldn't comprehend, the message spread across the galaxy. The age of suppression was over. The time of exploration, of unlimited innovation, had begun. And it had all started because one species had dared to look at the impossible and say, let's try anyway. Legacy of Defiance. 1 year after the collective's fall, Earth hosted the first Galactic Innovation Summit. The Grand Assembly Hall in Geneva hummed with energy as representatives from over 300 species gathered to share ideas, challenge assumptions, and imagine new possibilities. Admiral Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's representative to the newly formed Alliance of Free Worlds, stood at the podium looking out over the assembled delegates. Each species brought their own perspective, their own way of seeing the universe. The Arxer's crystalline thought matrices approached problems in ways organic brains never could. The Kerith's multidimensional perception let them visualize solutions humans could barely comprehend. A year ago, he began, most of you lived under the collective's shadow. Your innovations were suppressed, your creativity bounded by their rules and assumptions. Today, we gather not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals, each of us bringing our unique gifts to the greatest collaborative effort in galactic history. Dr. Chen, leading the summit's technical sessions, had already seen the results. Quantum technology had evolved more in the past year than in the previous 1,000 under the collective's control. The Arxer's crystal-based computing combined with human quantum theory had created systems that could process information in ways previously thought impossible. The collective feared this, she told a group of visiting scientists. Not just innovation itself, but the chaos of unlimited collaboration. They couldn't control it, couldn't predict it, so they suppressed it. They never understood that chaos is where the best ideas are born. In orbit, Captain Wong conducted tours of the new Earth Defense Fleet headquarters. The stations and ships looked nothing like traditional human or collective designs. They incorporated elements from dozens of species, each contribution adding something unique to the whole. This is what they feared most, he explained to a group of alien officers. Not our weapons or our defiance, but this, different species working together, combining their knowledge in ways they couldn't control. The collective thought diversity was a weakness. We proved it's our greatest strength. The evidence was everywhere. The Kerith had taken humanity's quantum mirage technology and, applying their understanding of dimensional physics, created communication systems that made the collective's fastest networks look primitive. The Arxer combined their crystalline computing with human AI principles to develop predictive systems that could model the consequences of new technologies before they were built. In her lab beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Patul worked with a team representing 15 different species. They were developing what she called synthesis technology, systems that could adapt and evolve by combining different technological approaches in real time. The collective thought technology should be standardized, controlled, she explained to visiting Alliance officials. But look at this. She gestured to a prototype that seemed to shift and flow, its function changing as different species added their input. This is what happens when you let innovation run free. Dr. O'Connor's psychological studies had revealed something remarkable. As species broke free from collective constraints, they didn't just reclaim their old innovations, they exceeded them. Centuries of suppression had created a reservoir of potential that, once released, transformed the galaxy. They tried to make us all the same, an Arxer scientist observed during a collaborative session. Instead, they just proved why we need to be different. Every species sees the universe in their own way. When we combine those perspectives, we see everything. Chen finished, smiling. The summit's crowning achievement was the establishment of the Galactic Innovation Network. Unlike the collective's rigid hierarchy, the GIN was a fluid, organic system where ideas could flow freely between species. Every innovation was shared, every discovery built upon by minds that approached problems from radically different angles. But perhaps the most profound change was cultural. Species that had been taught to fear difference, to distrust innovation, now embraced the chaos of unlimited possibility. The collective's perfect order had been replaced by something messier but infinitely more dynamic. They called it chaos, Rodriguez told the summit's closing session. They said unrestricted innovation would lead to disaster. Instead, it led to this. He gestured to the hall, where hundreds of species worked together, sharing ideas that would have been forbidden a year ago. They thought forcing everyone to follow the same path would create perfection. We proved that perfection comes from finding your own path and then sharing what you discover along the way. The legacy of humanity's defiance wasn't just the defeat of an empire. It was the birth of something unprecedented, a civilization where every species was free to innovate, to imagine, to contribute their unique perspective to the grand project of understanding the universe. In the end, the collective's greatest fear had become reality, but not in the way they had imagined. Unrestricted innovation hadn't led to chaos. It had led to a renaissance. The galaxy was messier now, less orderly, but infinitely more alive. And it had all started because one species had looked at an impossible ultimatum and decided to try something new. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't our technology or our tactics. It was the simple, powerful idea that there's always another way if you're brave enough to imagine it. As the summit concluded, news arrived from the galaxy's edge. A new species had been discovered, one that had never encountered the collective. The Alliance's first contact team was already preparing to meet them, not with ultimatums and demands, but with an invitation to join the greatest collaboration in history. The universe, it seemed, was finally ready for some new ideas.